Good evening. Welcome to the January 10th meeting of the Oceanside City Council. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. First meeting of the year, 2024. And I don't know what that noise is.
I think it's a hearing device.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead and have
Staff's looking into it.
roll, please. Mr. Navarro.
Mayor Sanchez,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Kime, Councilmember Joyce, Councilmember Robinson,
Here.
Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you very much. Pastor Woods is running late, so we'll get to Pastor Woods once he gets here, but let's go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and start with a closed session report. Mr. Mullen?
Thank you. The City Council met in closed session to discuss item 1, conference with labor negotiator involving the Oceanside Police Officers Association, and item 2A1, initiation of litigation by the city pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 subdivision C involving one case. There's no action under the Brown Act to report on either item 1 or item 2 at this time.
Thank you very much. So we're now on consent calendar items 4 through 12. Any requests from the public to pull anything?
We have not had any requests from the public to pull any consent calendar item.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. There's a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. We're on general item number 13, and that is adoption of a resolution approving a plan of finance, including the issuance of revenue bonds by the California Municipal Finance Authority in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $20 million to finance and refinance a 43-unit, 100% affordable qualified residential rental project located at the northeast corner of College Boulevard and North River Road for the benefit of Merca South River Village, LP. Basically, this is the North River Farms affordable housing project, or another affiliate of the sponsor, and certain other matters relating thereto. We're going to begin with a report by our Housing and Neighborhood Services Director, Ms. Leilani Hines. Ms. Hines?
Good evening, Mayor, Honorable Mayor, council members, public here this evening. South River Village is a 100% affordable apartment community that is being sponsored by Merca Investments, LLC, and as the mayor stated, to fulfill its inclusionary housing obligations for the North River Farms project. And Merca Investments has asked that the California Municipal Finance Authority, or CMFA, be the issuer of that tax-exempt financing to finance the proposed project. Again, we're here to adopt that resolution for the financing and the issuance of the revenue bonds that constitute the primary financing for this project. And again, the adoption of this resolution is solely for the purposes of satisfying the requirements of the IRS code that requires an elected representative of the governmental unit housing the project or hosting it to provide its approval of the issuance. The project is being developed in satisfaction of North River Farms inclusionary housing obligations. It's located on a site that's a net of 1 acre, a triangular parcel along Vandergrift Boulevard between North River Road and College, just south of the North River Road Transit Center. It is 43 units, all of which will be affordable. It provides a mix of 1s, 2s, and 3-bedroom units, with about 11 units being 3-bedroom, and also a mix of affordability from the deepest at 30% AMI to 80% AMI, with nearly 28% of the units at that very low end category. It is also proposed to be a supportive housing development with a number of the units set aside for those folks individuals or families with developmental disabilities. Total project cost is about $22 million, equating to about $510,000 per unit. The majority of the financing, again, is in the affordable housing world, is comprised of the multifamily housing revenue bonds and the low-income housing tax credits, or 65% of the finance cost. It should also be noted that there is a direct subsidy from the developers, Merca Investments, along with Lennar, that comprises about 16%. As a result of their contributions to the project, the city is not being required or requested to provide any financial assistance to this project. As alluded to before, CMFA will be the conduit bond issuer for this at a maximum of $20 million, not necessarily going to the full max, but $20 million. Bond financing really is the sole responsibility of the borrower, and it's secured by the projects and the private financing associated with it. So for the city or CMFA, there's no financial or legal obligations for repayment of the notes. So with that, staff is recommending that the City Council adopt the resolution approving the issuance of the bonds by CMFA for the borrower, Merca Investments. The representatives from Merca Investment is here, along with Connor O'Brien, representing CMFA if there are any specific questions related to the project and its financing. That concludes staff's presentation this evening.
Thank you. Do we have any requests to speak from the public?
We do not have any requests to speak on this item.
Okay. So I'm sorry, you would have to have signed up. Apologize. So to the council, Councilmember Weiss.
Move approval, staff recommendation.
Okay, there's a motion and second. I just wanted to quickly state here that I did ask about the status of the project. I understand that it's already received all approvals, or nearing all approvals, I guess. Ms. Hines, you don't know that information, right? I think we had.
It has received its entitlement. It's
Okay.
currently under building permit review. Primarily, the review is at the grading permit level at this point in time.
Right, so pretty much it's going to be like a 4-story. Did the volume just go up? Okay. I heard myself. 4-story, some on-site parking, and this is not something that, this is actually, under the state law, it's ministerial, so it was actually basically approved without any presentation to the public or to the council. Councilmember Joyce?
I just want to know what the length of the term of affordability is. Is it 55 years?
Yes.
Yes, that's standard for bond and tax credit programs.
All right, so we do have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Okay, let's go to item number 15, advance request to speak. Mr. Layton. Interesting topic. Interesting box.
Some have asked me what it is that it bugs me about the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. The city clerk has 2 articles for interested council members that open my eyes to this issue. Let's take a New Year inventory about what's working in Oceanside and what's not, and what's keeping us as a backwater bug tussled by the sea. The chamber wants to renew its 25-year lease that gives it free rent in exchange for, quote, promoting tourism. Well, what do you know? That is now being handled by Visit Oceanside. The Chamber's lease agreement also says the Chamber will maintain the visitor center. Years ago, that duty was also lateraled off to Visit Oceanside. Yet the Chamber still gets free rent to run the visitor center, which it doesn't run. The Chamber used to be involved in high-profile community events, like our well-received public art mural initiative, which is handled not by the Chamber, but by Main Street. And what about the Sunset and Farmers Market? Again, handled by Main Street. But what about Harbor Days, that high-profile tradition run by the Chamber, which was tanked after some 60 years, and Chamber boss Scott Ashton couldn't even step up and let someone else take it over? Massive failure. A member of the Oceanside Police Officers Association told me our city is not keeping up with other cities as competition for hiring cops heats up. The rent for the city at 928 North Coast Highway, which would normally be paid to the city, comes out of the general fund, which could be used to pay for cops and fire. Because they get free rent, that doesn't happen. Meanwhile, the Chamber's Scott Ashton is getting paid over $196,000 a year if you add his $24,000 expense account. Now you may say, well, that's no one's business, really. Well, sure, if the Chamber wasn't getting subsidized by the city or not doing the work spelled out in its lease contract. Instead, it's become the way pay-for-play developers can get good old Scott Ashton to march right up here and tell us how good North River Farms and Howard Jacobs' hideous ghetto tenements are a good thing. And he's speaking on behalf of the Chamber. The Oceanside Chamber is the only county chamber that gets free rent. It's the only chamber that has a PAC that raises money and then endorses and funds local candidates like Keim, Weiss, and Robinson, who, as a majority, can then vote to renew the Chamber's free ride gravy train. The Chamber's switch from promoting Oceanside to political pandering became clear 5 years ago when Mr. Ashton publicly lobbied to get a member of his board appointed to the council, who, by the way, works in Carlsbad. Way to promote local business, Scott. And the Chamber didn't seem to be doing anybody any good when a 19-year tenant was evicted with 30 days notice because they were selling the building. And it may not be saying necessarily anything against the Hispanic community which it served, but it certainly was not a good way to do business. I've run out of time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, comments from the public regarding items not on this agenda, item number 16. How many people do we have?
We have 6 speakers.
6?
Yes.
Let's go ahead and get started.
Our first speaker is Moss Rosen and David Dollahan, to be followed by Chua Slater, to be followed by Shelley Nepper.
Ms. Nepper left.
Oh, okay. To be followed by Richard Newton.
Oh, yes. Before we begin on this, we actually have Pastor Woods with us. And you could have a seat, sir. Yeah, thank you. And if you would all stand for the invocation, thank you so much. Pastor Woods.
God bless you, Mayor Sanchez and the City Council. Please forgive me for being late today. And thank you for holding this spot for me. Let us pray. Oh, Lord, our Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth. Your right hand and holy arm have gotten you the victory. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, you ordained strength because of your enemies, that you might steal the enemy and the avenger. Lord, we thank you today for your grace. We thank you for your great mercy, your loving kindness, and your goodness. We thank you for the city of Oceanside. We thank you, oh God, for the United States of America. And Father, as we stand together, we pray for our nation in the mighty and precious name of Jesus. And Lord, we just want to say thank you for watching over us and caring for us and taking care of us. And Lord, we just ask you to lead us and guide us. We ask you to bless our council, bless our mayor, our frontline leaders, our first responders. Bless and protect them, oh God, for all the things that they do to help protect us. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. We thank God. Amen and amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, back to the item number 16, which is communications on off-agenda topics, starting with Mr. Moss Rosen. And is this two of you, but only one of you will speak at a time? I mean, only one, huh? Let's have each one speak, because we don't really have two people speaking on the same 3 minutes. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, City Council. We're here tonight to inform the community about the history of pet-friendly access to Oceanside beaches in the last 2 years, the history, and our intention for the coming year. We collected thousands of signatures and business endorsements showing interest in creating dog-friendly beach access in Oceanside. We participated in the city re-beach pilot, efforts to restore the beaches, and the community got a bonus. Now dogs appear on the designs. Plus, we reached out to Save Oceanside Sand, as some council members suggested. Our requests for community city council workshops for collaboration on the subject were ignored. Our request to have a review of the Oceanside City Ordinance and dog policies compared to other San Diego City and county beaches was ignored, noting that the majority of the San Diego beaches already allow access to the beaches, with Oceanside being an exception. We even redrafted the ordinance in compliance with the City of San Diego's existing policy, and it was ignored. An agenda proposal from November 21 for a trial won with a 3-2 council member support. And later, we had an agenda item that was oddly never voted on. In this case, we only have one action. Our action of recourse is to take this to the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, is it Dullahan?
Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, good evening. David Dullahan. Moss and I filed an actual petition in accordance with California election law with the city clerk on December 19th. That petition was titled and a summary provided by the city attorney, Mr. John Mullen, on January 3rd in accordance with the election code. This Friday, we are publishing the legal notice in accordance with the election code to amend the city's dog beach and beach ordinances, specifically within the municipal code. We will begin the petition process of collecting signatures as of this Friday. Our proposed change to the ordinance is to allow dogs on leash before 9 a.m. and after 4 p.m. during non-summer hours, and after 6 p.m. and before 10 a.m. during summer hours for the section of beach between Surfrider Avenue and Breakwater Way. Our other portion of the ordinance amendments is to allow for a wet sand beach, which is the area south of Tyson Street Park that would be accessible off-leash for owners in control of their animals when tide permits. Would be transforming an adverse beach erosion situation into positive community outcomes, again, turning lemons into lemonade. Service dogs, we've also included clarification and amendments within the ordinance proposal to allow dogs on the beach for those in service who have a physical disability, a visual impairment, or suffer from a hearing impairment. We begin this process Friday for the collection of signatures. We have 10,000 plus signatures to collect by July 1st, put forward to you for consideration to put it on the November ballot. We are having our first orientation session for circulators this Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. at 518 South Strand Street, and you're welcome to attend, and we'll go over through the process, and we are starting the collections now. We ask the public and any members of the council and city staff that are interested, please make outreach to myself or Moss or at the oceansidedogbeach.org website, and we can get you access to a petition for your signature. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next is Chiwa Slater. Followed by Richard Newton.
Mayor Sanchez and esteemed council members, I am an Oceanside resident for 16 years, and I'm with Sierra Club, and I'm also a climate reality leader. I'm very much concerned about climate change, and there are many things that we can do about it. Here at the beginning of a new year, following on the heels of a year that turned out to be the hottest year in recorded history, and with climate change accelerating, we can look forward to food shortages and continually rising food prices. So the time to prepare for that is now. So I want to ask your help in one way that we can do that. I would like to ask you to commit to giving more support to community gardens here in Oceanside, to provide food for the considerable population that is even now being stressed to put food on the table because of increasing food prices. A lot of American cities have already addressed this issue in a much bigger way than we have here. In Austin, Texas, for example, community gardens provide over 100,000 pounds of food every year, fresh food from gardens. And those who grow the food take care of the land, and the excess food is donated to food banks and distributed to those in need. So how can community gardens contribute to handling climate change? Well, in a lot of ways, really. The leaves from the plants can cool the air to reflect sunlight back out there. We can save carbon emissions by reducing the amount of trucking that's required for people to get their food. We can reduce rain runoff and erosion. The land will absorb CO2. We can attract pollinators like bees and birds and butterflies whose disappearance from this planet is seriously affecting our ability to produce enough food, and not affecting it as much at this point as it will very soon. We can also use community gardens to provide small open spaces for native wildlife and migratory species that need sustenance and nourishment. Community gardens also obviously provide benefits for the people. In addition to the food, community engagement, physical activity, and in economic vitality for the neighborhoods that participate. So how can the city help? By supporting community gardens, our local government can overcome barriers such as liability expenses, code restrictions, a lack of resources that make it difficult to maintain gardens in this area. So I ask that the council take steps to investigate possibilities to increase community gardens in the
Thank you.
Oceanside, and that you add this, your findings to the Community Act, to the Climate
very
Action
much,
Plan
ma'am.
that you've been working on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Richard Newton, followed by Shelley Parker.
Mayor Sanchez, members of the council, and the public. Oceanside's kind of a small town. We all know our way around it. And so I'd like to speak about something that's occurring on Mesa Drive, south of Mission Avenue, between Mission Avenue and Buddy Todd Park. If you drive down Mesa, you'll see there's some signs on the east side of Mesa Drive that asks to save a tree, a particular tree. It's a beautiful tree. It's a large tree. They have a sign out. They have a table for signing petitions, and I've signed that, and several other people that I know have as well. And I was talking to the residents there. I was looking at the sidewalk. The sidewalk is not broken. It's not damaging the concrete. The tree itself is presenting no problems. It provides, it helps fight climate change. We consider it's a large tree. It provides a home for many animals that live in trees. It also provides a way through photosynthesis to produce oxygen from carbon dioxide, helping to decarbonize the atmosphere. It seems like there's a vested interest in the city that wants to cut that tree down, and the residents are trying to save it. By letting the tree remain, you help fight climate change, A, by decarbonizing the atmosphere, by changing carbon and oxygen, 2, by not hiring a contractor to come out with a truck and some chainsaws and cut down the tree, 3, to haul the waste off, and 4, to have the decomposition of the waste. Oftentimes when we make decisions, we have to weigh the pros and the cons, the cost and the benefits. That's true in any investment. You look at your initial outlay of either resources, time, or money, and what your return on that is going to be. This is a no-brainer. It's just maintaining status quo. It costs nothing. Don't cut down the tree. Let it remain. It's helping the environment, and it's a beautiful tree. Let's keep it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shelley Parker, followed by Kelly O'Neill.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I was privileged to go out today and look at the Greenbrier project. Actually, another commissioner went with me, and Councilman Joyce was there. I was really excited. When I heard the presentation, I thought, wow. And then to see it going up and everything, I just want to say I'm happy today to live in Oceanside, where we're actually taking care of people that are in need. And it looks like it's going to be a really quality project. I'd like some of the things that they're putting in there in my home. It felt good, even though there was still, they hadn't completed all the sheetrock and that kind of thing, but it was a wonderful experience. I'm really glad that I'm serving on the commission so that I got the chance to go see that. And I hope that this developer gets to do another project here in Oceanside, because I think it will be good for us. And the fact that it was slated for 19 condos that were 600,000 and above, and now there's going to be 60 units for people who really actually need this. I think we're all doing our civic duty, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Finally, Kelly O'Neill.
Hi, Madam Mayor and Councilman Kime, Councilman Joyce, Councilman Robinson, and Councilman Weiss. Hello, I'm Kelly O'Neill, and Oceanside is my hometown. And I'm just speaking about all the projects going on up around Oceanside that are basically redesigning our neighborhoods without having us involved. And I'm wondering how many of the financial relationships involved in these bonus density projects are the same government agencies that are named by Tara Lee Rodas in her House Judiciary testimony that was given on April 26, 2023. She talks about children coming across the border and being placed in these sponsor homes, like the sponsor homes Mr. Joyce told me about when I saw him at our abandoned Amtrak station. helping interfaith place. Tons of people hundreds of people that were coming through, being dropped off at our Amtrak station by the Border Patrol just within a few days and being placed in sponsor homes. Well, Tara Rhodes, her testimony talks about a lot of these sponsor homes is where the children, unaccompanied minors, are placed in, and they're being raped and sold for rape on a regular basis. Anyone can go look up her testimony. It's on the House Judiciary YouTube channel. Her testimony is given on April 26, 2023. And I'm wondering how deep you guys are looking into the money that's coming in through the developers for these projects and how they're connected to these government agencies, California state government agencies that are, when you listen to her testimony, they are systematically selling these children to be raped. And so how much of the money in these is being used, how much of the money are you receiving from these same government agencies that is coming into our home, to our neighborhoods and redesigning our neighborhoods, rezoning them by the state. The state, you're putting the state above us, the locals. And I've spoken about this, I've spoken about our city charter before, how in our city charter, we put the locals above the state, but I don't see our city manager, Jonathan, Mr. Borrego, I don't see you standing up for us at all. And we are a charter city, that means you are in charge above all these people. You are in charge of following that city charter above these people, according to charter cities. That's how I understand it. I may be wrong, but that was my understanding. And
Thank you, Kelly.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Item number 17 is adoption of an ordinance amending Chapter 24 of the Muni Code to preclude additional short-term rentals in all zoning districts outside of the city's coastal zone, introduced on December 20th, 2023 on a 5-0 vote. Any requests to speak from the public on this item?
We have 5 speakers registered for this item.
Okay, let's get going.
Our first speaker is Sandra Chima, to be followed by Brian Duggan, to be followed by Wyatt Jackson.
Hi, my name is Sandra Sima, and we moved to Oceanside when our house burned down in the Harmony Grove fire, and it took our home in Carlsbad. When we moved to Oceanside, we saw numerous homes that were abandoned and run down, and we ended up buying a property at 318 South Pacific and turned it into 8 beautiful condos. We also took an abandoned home on South Pacific Street, 1905 South Pacific Street, and made that into a beautiful home also. We use these homes as vacation rentals, and we have been doing this since 2013. We have never had a complaint on our property. We know our neighbors. We're involved with our neighbors. When they have a community problem, we get involved with it. And we need to ask that you do not restrict the property, the short-term vacation rental properties. First of all, you can have in my condo, which is a 2,000 square foot home on 318 South Pacific, you can have a family in there according to the rules and regulation of 8 people. Now, the price for that is much, much less than what you could rent at one of the big hotels. But don't think that we get away with not paying TOT tax. We pay TOT tax just like the big hotels do. But we offer something better for our friends that want to visit the beach, because we can have a family there and we don't have to charge them an arm and a leg. We give them access to the beach because our property can hold more people. What we'd like to say is that hotels have their place, but we also have our place. And we would like for you to reconsider your views on short-term vacation rentals. We have a few people that are bad players in the vacation rental program. We are not, and there are a lot of other people that are not bad players. And so we would like to say, please allow us to continue going the way we're going, because we bring a lot of happiness to families. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brian Dugan?
Brian Duggan.
If you could raise it up higher, I know it's
sure.
not, it can't reach
Yeah,
you.
I don't know if it goes up.
However, just so that we can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a resident and property owner of 2 homes in the city of Oceanside along with my wife. We shop local, dine local, and we're active financial contributors to this beautiful city. We own a property at 318 South the Strand. We purchased the property in 2016, and after living there for a year, we began renting it. We're concerned with the STVR ruling as it deeply affects us and many other homeowners in the area. Throughout the years, we have contributed financially to the City of Oceanside and look forward to doing so in the future. We are constantly renovating and improving both the interior and exterior of our condo, ensuring to maintain and surpass the superior appearance that Oceanside deserves. We follow and abide by all the rules, regulations set by the City of Oceanside for occupancy. We are on call and live about a block away from our unit. Guests can address us with any concerns or questions, allowing for complete transparency of who and what is going on in our rental. We contribute to the vacation rental pool by offering a reasonable cost rental. We provide recommendations of local Oceanside retail shops and restaurants, ensuring that our guests' money is spent in Oceanside, further contributing to Oceanside's overall revenue. We have both short and long-term rental options with our unit. We currently have someone that's there that comes every year and stays for 2 months because they want that home feeling. This also brings additional revenue to the City of Oceanside as our guests frequent local businesses during their stay. We're an asset not only to the community of Oceanside, we're an asset to vacationers worldwide who have the desire to make Oceanside their vacation destination. Many vacationers do not want to stay at a resort, like a hotel, or prefer a more private home like destination. We provide exactly this for the Oceanside vacationer. We currently live at 209 Godfrey Street in Oceanside. We absolutely love our city as renters and residents of Oceanside. We would greatly appreciate not being punished for the actions of a few bad renters. We'd also appreciate not being punished for the new hotels, resorts not meeting their financial goals. Their inability to meet their financial goals directly relates to astronomical room rates, resort fees, etc. When people stay with us and eat and shop local, providing revenue to the City of Oceanside. We have a business that positively impacts the City of Oceanside and continually stimulates economic activity in our community, then we should not be pushed out no matter what the size of our business is. I know that I've done a little bit of research on this, and I know that vacation rentals in the San Diego area alone provided over $86 million in revenue. So we would hope that you would please reconsider, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Wyatt Jackson, followed by Kimberly Jackson.
Hello, Honorable Mayor and council members. My name is Wyatt Jackson, and I would like to oppose the motion to ban all vacation rentals outside and inside the coastal zone. Oceanside is not a giant HOA community. This is a property right. Please stop the government overreach and allow families to utilize their homes in the fashion they wish. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wyatt. Kimberly Jackson.
Honorable Mayor and council members, thanks for your time tonight. My name is Kimberly, and I run a small firm called Vacation Rentals by Kimberly. I'm born and raised in the area. I'm here to oppose precluding additional short-term rentals in all zones, including the coastal zone, which I know you're going to look at next. Number one, proper notice was not given to permit holders of short-term rentals. Nobody was e-blasted. All permit holders should have probably been notified so that we could all come together and talk about this. Furthermore, it sounds like, there's a few problem homes, and there's a way to deal with that. Code enforcement can deal with those things. 3 strikes and you're out. If there's a noise issue, occupancy issue, trash issue, they should be fined. given a strike, 3 strikes and you're out like all the other cities, instead of just banning. This looks like government overreach to me. We're not a giant HOA, as my son Wyatt said, and it just doesn't seem right. We give you guys over $8 million in TOT. Maybe we need another code enforcement officer to help enforce rules. But a de facto ban doesn't make sense. And once we start looking at coastal zone, coastal isn't going to like that either. Maybe a market cap on allowable units and give people proper time to get their permit if they want to engage in this business. It also sounds to me like maybe Assemblymember Horvath has a say in what's going on here and is just, asking you guys to do something about this. Or maybe the hotel owners or unions are contributing to campaigns. So please, rethink this. I don't think it's a good idea. We've contributed so much money to cleaning up Oceanside. Like Sandra said, homes have turned over and the neighborhoods have become a lot more lovelier, safer. Please don't do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Linda Walshaw?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Linda Walshaw. I'm the CEO of Mobile Home Advisory Committee, assisting mobile homeowners throughout San Diego County. I'm here about the short-term rentals, and I have a question regarding enforcement of the existing short-term rental ordinance and how that's going to work going forward. What has happened is this year on the county assessor's records, what's showing up in the parks are timeshare, and they're actually recorded in the assessor's records as timeshares. There's at least 4 at Laguna Vista. There's another 4 at Rancho San Luis Rey. We've reported them to the city's offices and to Ms. Hines, and so far nothing has happened about that. And the reason that it's important is because if they are in fact timeshares, which we believe them to be, then that means they're being incorrectly reported in their annual filings with the city, and that's a rent control space lost, and that means that the registration fees are not being counted appropriately, and it just, follows down that line. So we would like to see the actual ordinance that already exists enforced, and at least inside the mobile home parks. And how are we going to enforce it in the rest of the city going forward? Because there needs to be some kind of reporting process. What used to happen is every year after the annual park filings, we would take the city's records and then compare those to the county filings and the state's, and then report any discrepancies to our housing staff, and they would then in turn contact the park owners and require discrepancies be corrected or that they file corrected pages when necessary. That's not happening now. And since these things are now showing up in the actual county assessor's records as residential timeshares, we've got a bigger issue now. So that means they're being misreported somehow in the city filings, because they're certainly not reporting them that way in what they're reporting to you. So we need to figure out who to report that to and how we're going to enforce that going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Those are all of the speakers. For clarification, Mr. Borrego, I know this is for the second reading, but for clarification, what is intended here? It's a cap. Could you please explain what that is? Seems like the majority were concerned about their existing.
Sure, exactly. As I understand council's action this evening, essentially by the action before you tonight, essentially we would be no longer allowing new short-term rentals outside of the coastal zone. However, existing short-term rentals would be allowed to continue as long as they maintain an active license.
Right, and if they sell, then that goes away. Okay.
So it's very simple, Mayor. If I could jump in, it's just non-hosted short-term rentals located in any residential zoning district outside the coastal zone. Existing permits are still allowed unless the unit's sold.
Right.
And I need to do this second read when you're ready, or the title when you're ready.
I know.
Okay.
We got to get the motion first and then got it. Okay, so hopefully that takes care of that. And as to the comments about timeshares, which I don't really think was relevant to this, but I see that that we have Ms. Hines, who listened to the conversation, and if you could just send her the addresses. Thank you very much. So, to the council, Councilmember Joyce.
I just noticed that in the minutes from this previous meeting when we had this conversation, I walked away from the meeting thinking that we were going to have an update of enforcement, maybe further definitions of some language in there that I was a little concerned about, like what does it mean to host? Can you host multiple requirements on the host sites to be our numbers be listed on the websites? What's the escalation for a revocation and that kind of thing? I thought we were going to have a second conversation, but I see that that wasn't included in the minutes. So I just want to take a moment to ask my council colleagues if we can give direction tonight to do that so that we can have that come back.
If I could jump in, we're working on that. It is coming back to you. We are implementing all of your actions. We met this week and charted out council dates and a schedule to bring that to you, I think, March and April of this year.
Okay.
This is just the second read of the part outside the coastal zone. It wasn't, our thought was that all of that wasn't going to come with this. We wanted to get this adopted.
Immediately.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, including the definition of hosted, sorry, because we do see these LLCs and like this kind of like 12 owners of a property kind of a thing, which are unrelated people.
Right.
So you'll be coming back with that.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and council members, and thanks for the clarification. Yes, there were a number of other items, as Mr. Mullen explained, that were part of the council's last action, and we do intend to bring all of those back when we bring forward the piece for properties within the coastal zone.
Right. Exactly. You said within the coastal zone too. Great, thank you. Is there a motion? Councilmember Joyce.
I'll move approval.
Move adoption. I'll go ahead and second that. Mr. Mullen, could you please title?
This is the second reading and adoption of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside, amending Chapter 24 of the Oceanside City Code to preclude additional short-term rentals in zoning districts outside of the city's coastal zone.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 18 is adoption of an ordinance for a zone amendment to change the zoning designation of APNs 122-190-19, 122-190-22, and 157-070-42 from public, semi-public, excuse me, to planned development. Is there a motion? Oh, are there any requests to speak?
No requests to speak.
Okay.
Second.
So it's, the motion is to adopt. Any other comments? Okay, Mr. Mullen, please title.
Thank you. This is the adoption, a second reading and adoption of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside amending the zoning designation for certain real property located at 4991 Macario Drive from public, semi-public to planned development, PD.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. We do have a public hearing item at 6 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and take a break until 6 o'clock. Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. It is 6 o'clock, time certain for our public hearing item. We do have one item. It is item number 14. Adoption of a resolution upholding Planning Commission Resolution number 2023-P19, approving tentative map, development plan, and density bonus to allow the subdivision of a 2-acre parcel into 13 lots and the development of 13 single-family homes with one reserved for very low-income households located between Loma Alta Drive and Crouch Street, approximately 150 feet south of Walsh Street. The proposed project is categorically exempt pursuant to Article 19, Section 15332, which are in lieu development projects. of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. That's CEQA. The applicant is Loma Alta Terraces, LLC, Scott Darnell, and the appellant is Link Laduco. So we're going to go ahead and begin by asking disclosure from council members regarding constituent contacts and correspondence.
Staff and the appellants.
Staff and public email.
Staff from the public, that includes emails and also phone calls and conversations.
I met with neighbors and I spoke with staff.
Staff and the appellant.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence and or petitions?
All correspondence has been forwarded to the council, and the clerk's office did receive a letter from Timothy Hutter of the law firm of Allen, Matkins, Leck, Gamble, Mallory, and Natzis, which was forwarded to the council.
Yes, I did receive that. All right, we're going to begin with a report from Dane Thompson, a planner too from the City of Oceanside. Mr. Thompson?
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, Dane Thompson with the Planning Division, presenting the Loma Alta Terraces appeal. Tonight, staff is recommending that the council adopt a resolution affirming the Planning
Recording in progress.
Decision to approve the project as proposed. The project site is a vacant 2-acre parcel that fronts both Loma Alta Drive and Crouch Street with a land use designation of State B residential and a corresponding zoning designation of REB. On October 9th, the Planning Commission approved the project on a 4-2 vote. The appellant then submitted their appeal within the 10-day appeal period. Tonight's vote is to either grant the appeal and deny the project or deny the appeal approving the project as proposed. The project is a request for 3 entitlements, a tentative tract map and development plan utilizing density bonus. The tract map would subdivide the 2-acre lot into 13 lots ranging from 2,800 square feet to 13,000 square feet, and the development plan would involve the construction of 13 single-family homes from 2 floor plans. Associated improvements include the private cul-de-sac. Each of the adjacent streets would be widened and improved with curb, gutter, and sidewalk. And there would also be some site landscaping and stormwater facilities. The project is proposing to reserve 1 unit for very low-income households, which awards them additional density over what would otherwise be allowed. Here you can see how the site would be subdivided, with access coming solely from Loma Alta Drive. Of the 13 lots, the average lot size would be 5,500 square feet. Here are the elevations for the 11 units referred to as Housing Product A or Plan A. These units would be 3,200 square foot, 3-story units with a 3-car garage. And they would come out to 30.5 feet. Here are the elevations for the other 2 units, which would be 2-story, 1,600 square foot units with a 2-car garage. No rooftop decks are proposed at this time. Additional improvements include site landscaping, the widening of Crouch and Loma Alta up to 9 feet at the widest points, as well as installing curb, gutter, and sidewalk on both frontages. The added width on the public streets would allow street parking where it exists today. This table shows the density bonus calculations for the project. Because the developer is reserving 1 unit or 11% of the units for very low-income households, they receive a 35% bonus, which equates to 4 units. Per state law, density bonus projects can request unlimited waivers or reductions of development standards if they would physically preclude the project. The city must allow these waivers unless it would result in a specific quantifiable adverse impact based on objective written health or safety standards. The waivers requested are shown in the table to the right. Noteworthy waivers include minimum lot size, setbacks, and height for a few of the units. The project is also awarded 2 concessions per state law for anything that would result in a tangible cost savings to the project. The applicant is utilizing 1 concession for this project for the city's utility undergrounding requirement. To start the appeal points, the appellant argues that the project is out of character with the surrounding community. Density bonus projects are expected to be built at a larger scale than the surrounding conforming projects, whether that takes the form of smaller lot sizes or greater massing or both. To build the project at the proposed density, the project cannot meet all the development standards of the underlying district while maintaining the single-family design and character of the neighborhood. The Housing Accountability Act also limits the city's ability to deny projects that conform to all applicable plans, codes, and policies unless they would have an unavoidable, specific, adverse impact on public health or safety. City staff have reviewed the project and determined it would not result in an unavoidable, specific, adverse impact on health or safety. Issue 2 was that the project does not respect privacy, which is not a specific, quantifiable adverse impact. However, it should be noted that the project has been conditioned to frost all rear windows within 20.5 feet of the rear property line. That requirement would affect lots 5, 6, 10, and 11, as shown on this map. Issue 3 is that the project would result in adverse traffic impacts. The project is estimated to generate 130 daily trips, which does not meet the city's thresholds of significance for traffic impact. Public Works Department conducted counts for Loma Alta Drive in 2007 and 2022 and found 495 trips and 332 trips, respectively, which is well under the design capacity for 2-lane local streets. The appellant claims the project would make the existing street less safe. However, the project would involve the installation of sidewalks on both frontages, and right-of-way dedications would result in both streets being widened to the city's standard. Issue 5 is that cumulative impacts were not addressed properly. However, the other project in question would add an estimated 100 daily trips, which when added to the project and the existing traffic along Loma Alta Drive would not reach the expected design capacity for 2-lane local street. Issue 6 expressed a desire for the city to require that all density bonus units or all additional units be reserved for lower income families. The city does not have authority to require that, which would also be contrary to state law. Issue 7 was that ADUs could be added to each of the homes. However, the city cannot restrict the rights of property owners to construct ADUs. Issue 8 is that the project would result in stormwater impacts to the surrounding community. The city's stormwater consultant conceptually reviewed the project to make sure existing flow patterns would be maintained and any additional runoff created by the proposed impervious areas would be managed on site. The proposed detention basin would be designed to maintain pre-project peak flows for up to a 100-year storm. Issue 9 is that the project would be a fire hazard to the community and the residents of the proposed projects for a variety of reasons. including the smaller setbacks, the proposed height and building materials, and natural risk. The project site is not within a very high fire severity zone, and the subject matter experts in the fire department reviewed the project, concluding it would not result in a specific adverse life or safety. It should also be noted that the new homes must be sprinklered, and the fire department conducts a fire hydrant flow test prior to occupancy. Point 10 claims the single point of egress would create an evacuation risk. However, because of the project's size, it does not require a secondary means of egress according to the fire code. The last appeal point claims the project would have sewer impacts. Again, the subject matter experts in the Water Utilities Department reviewed the project and confirmed it would not have significant impacts to the community. The project is also required to replace around 450 linear feet of substandard sewer pipes and replace it with city standard pipe. In summary, staff finds the appellant did not provide any basis to overturn the Planning Commission's approval of the project, and that neighborhood character and privacy are not valid reasons to deny the proposed project. Traffic impacts would not exceed the city's thresholds of significance. The city cannot overrule state law, and the project would not result in adverse infrastructure impacts or be a fire risk. Pursuant to Section 4605 of the zoning ordinance, the City Council may only consider issues raised by the appellant. With that, staff recommends the City Council adopt a resolution upholding Planning Commission Resolution number 2023 P19, approving the project as proposed. That concludes my presentation. I'll be available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is the time for the appellant to present, and this would be Mr. Link Ladudko. The presentation is for up to 20 minutes. You may reserve time of those 20 minutes for rebuttal.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'd like to do 10 minutes to start and then save 10 minutes for later. Is that okay? And I'd also going to need to use Cyclops here.
Cyclops, one eye, right, got it. The overhead
Yes.
camera.
Well, some neighbors and I were having coffee recently, and someone posed the question if any of us would want to live in this project. Nobody did, and I'm about to show you why. In the city's haste to approve more housing, what you are doing, perhaps unwittingly, is sacrificing safety for housing start. Shouldn't safety be the primary concern? We fear you're not hearing the complete story from the planning department, who are ignoring or are unaware of the lessons of history. I'm talking specifically about the four-letter word fire. You don't even need a degree in fireology to understand that this project presents an unreasonable risk to the health and safety of the public, and especially for the families that might choose to live there. We have identified 6 magnifying factors that make this project fall squarely within the definition of a specific adverse impact. I'd like to put that on the screen. Everyone see that?
Yes.
6 magnifying factors that would have a specific adverse impact upon the health and safety of the resident within and surrounding this proposed project. The height of the planned 13 wooden towers within this project, 11 3-story, 2 2-story. The problem is it's more challenging for firefighters to control in the event of a fire and more difficult for residents to escape from. Number two, too little space between most of the planned homes, as little as 8 feet between the homes, wall to wall. The problem is it's more challenging for firefighters to defend and more likely for a fire to spread throughout the development. Only one point of entry and exit. In the event of emergency would be very problematic. What happens if the exit is blocked? The problem is more difficult for firefighters to respond to and more difficult for residents to evacuate. Number 4 problem, nearby above-ground power lines and poles. Above-ground power lines and poles are known to be a main cause of fires should they fall, and dangerous for evacuees to transverse. Number 5, unreliable water supply. Who knows when and if our water supply will be rationed? Will there be enough water pressure if needed in a fire? And number 6, is our dry climate, vegetation topography, and seasonal high wind events. We've had many destructive wildfires in our county, combined with Santa Ana winds sometimes exceeding 100 miles an hour, and fire temperatures hot enough to melt metal. Now, I mentioned the lessons of history. Let me give you a few examples you may remember or at least may have heard of. 1993, Laguna Beach, over 400 residential structures destroyed. Winds as high as 92 miles an hour. 2003, San Diego County cedar fire with wind gusts in excess of 90 miles an hour. 2,232 residential structures lost in many cities throughout the county. 2007, San Diego County Witch Creek fire, winds up to 100 miles an hour, loss of 1,265 residential structures in many cities within the county. 2017, San Diego County Lilac fire, severe winds, loss of dozens of thoroughbred horses and 157 structures, including the San Luis Rey Downs horse race training track. 2018, this is in Northern California, called the Paradise Fire, also known as the Camp Fire. 85 lives lost, 18,000 structures destroyed. 5 months ago, you may remember, Lahaina Fire in Hawaii, a beach town very similar to ours with weather conditions and climate. Last I heard, 99 folks identified so far as deceased and 3,000 structures destroyed in a matter of hours. Don't think for 1 second that we're immune from the same fate. It's no wonder that insurance companies have either stopped providing homeowners insurance or have increased premiums dramatically. While we can't do much about the climate and weather, what we can do is attempt to reduce the risk of catastrophic harm. In the next slide, I'm going to offer 6 methods designed to mitigate the adverse impact upon safety created by this project that we just talked about and other projects that you may have in the pipeline. Okay, the 6 methods that I have on the sheet here to mitigate the adverse impact on health and safety of the public. Number 1, reduce the height of the planned homes within the project. Why? Why is that? Because it would be less difficult for firefighters to control. and less difficult for residents to escape from should they have to. Number 2, increase the space between the planned homes. Why? It's less difficult for firefighters to defend and less likely for a fire to spread throughout the development. Number 3, add another point of entry and exit. That could save critical time for firefighters to respond and double the opportunity for residents to evacuate. I propose one cul-de-sac on Loma Alta and a second cul-de-sac on Crouch Street. Number 4, install underground power lines. That will eliminate a source of ignition and make it easier for firefighters to respond and residents to flee. Number 5, upgrade and maintain the water supply infrastructure. And more importantly, I think, install a fire hydrant directly inside this development. That will speed up critical time for firefighter effort. And number 6, use as many fire-resistant materials and construction techniques as possible. And that may provide a measure of defense against fire spread. Now, the planning department may tell you, and they already have, that the fire department gave this project the green light. Well, I can tell you that all of the communities that experienced the fire examples that I listed for you a minute ago, they had a planning department and they had a fire department. So with that, I want to stop for now and continue my remaining comments later.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, we are going to hear from the applicant if requested. This is Loma Alta Terraces, Scott Darnell. Is it Mr. Darnell?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So you have up to 20 minutes.
Thank you, City Council members. I'll be sharing my time with my esteemed attorney, Sir Timothy Hutter, and hopefully make this brief, be respectful of all your time.
Thank you.
It's the Loma Alta Terraces simple presentation, just to recap the project in case you need any questions or answers from me. My firm, Darnell Capital Management, we're a San Diego-based infill developer. We specifically focus on social impact housing projects. We're trying to grow and improve the local housing stock of workforce housing, affordable housing, and senior living facility. This site, as Dane mentioned, 2-acre unimproved residential site. We submitted the application way back in 2021 to the City of Oceanside. We've been working with them, the staff, the great staff here since that point. Obviously, many years into this, it's a 13-lot project, 1 very low affordable and 12 market rate. We've had some collective outreach events with the community. I'll breeze through that quickly. We had our team at the project site, sent out a bunch of mailers. Mostly wanted to have dialogue with community members about projects look and feel, and receive from some directional comments in terms of the architectural theme that they wanted. And the one that won out, if you see at the bottom of this page, is the black, gray, white. There were some other schemes which I'll show on the upcoming slide, but in the end, the black, gray, white scheme seemed to be the favorite amongst the people that decided to cast a vote on the plan sheets we had. I'll show you the landscape palette that we included, showing kind of some nice color renderings of what the landscape areas will look like. And then here's some inspirational images with the architectural themes that we showed the residents and neighbors, community members that day. Obviously, the black, gray, white was the one that became the favorite. So we adjusted our architectural renderings and tried to reflect that. And then beyond the Planning Commission approval, we've also taken one step further and had some better renderings done with those themes and feedback that we received, including kind of wood grain theme feedback from the planning. Here is our Plan A updated renderings. It's the front facade, side facade, and the Plan B updated rendering showing the landscape lighting areas, front facade and side facade. And that's all I have. Happy to have my attorney.
Was that, it was black and white, right? So it seemed like some of it was dark brown, no?
The black and white with the Planning Commissioner Boma suggested that we add wood theme or wood trim to the rendering, so we did that.
Right.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and esteemed council members. Tim Hutter from Allen Matkins. I did send you a letter, I think on Friday. You've all had a chance to review that. I've been here before you guys before and talked to you previously, and I'm sure City Attorney Mullen has also briefed you on the specifics of density bonus and Housing Accountability Act. So no surprises there, and I'm not going to give you a lecture on that. The focus, I think, for purposes of tonight is really on the appellant's presentation and on the 6 magnifying factors that he's presented and the 6 recommendations as to how the project might be improved if the neighbors were in charge or were able to be in control of the project. So I'll just go through each one of those, and I want to make sure that you guys understand how those magnifying factors don't meet the standard of what's required under state density bonus law and the Housing Accountability Act. So the first one, and I will say, when it comes to fire safety, obviously fire safety is paramount and super important in today's day and age. Developers, my clients, are very sensitive to that. The projects that they're presenting, and particularly Mr. Darnell, are going to come with state-of-the-art fire protection technology, sprinklers, all those sorts of things, fire-resistant materials. So that's sort of built in and assumed, honestly. I'll say myself, as far as invoking other fires, my family lost our home in 2007 in the Witch Creek fires in Rancho Bernardo. We've since rebuilt that home and added sprinklers and made it safer. And that's some of the benefit that we get from improved technology since the 80s when those homes were initially built. And probably similarly true for other homes in the surrounding area here. As to the 6 magnifying factors that were identified, we'll start with height. The idea that a 3-story building creates a bigger risk for fire safety than a 2-story building, than a 1-story building, just is not based on any particular established standard, right? And the Density Bonus Law and Housing Accountability Act require a specific adverse impact based on an objective, written, identifiable standard. What you will not hear from the appellant tonight is those standards and what the standard would be. You guys are familiar with that because you typically approve projects that are 5 stories tall and wood framed. And that happens all the time, right, in other locations. So the idea of a 3-story building being unsafe based on any written standard is just not going to be supported. Similarly with the setbacks or the division between the properties, the idea that these homes are too close to each other, there's no established standard for that. There's no evaluation that would explain why this particular issue would cause a particular fire hazard. Again, there are other buildings built around the city and improved where buildings are built right up to the property line. And there are appropriate precautions built in to approve that and to deal with that. So no written standard there either. The idea of only having one point of entry or exit for the development, this one there is an established standard. And as you've heard from Mr. Thompson, the standard is met, right? So the idea of making a finding to deny the project on the basis of only having one point of entry or exit would fly in the face of what your established standard is, and it would be imposing a new standard that's not written, objective, identifiable. Similarly, the nearby power lines and power poles, that is the subject of a density bonus incentive. for this project. So it's been analyzed. The question of whether undergrounding at least the one pole that is nearby could or would improve the situation is analyzed in the staff report. There's an explanation as for why that would not constitute a significant improvement. Certainly, I don't think Mr. Darnell would disagree that if you were to underground all of the power poles in the city, that would probably make you safer. But undergrounding one in particular on the property line for this project is not going to make an impact, especially when, in order to do that, you'd have to put up another power pole just down the street. On the issue of the allegedly unreliable water supply, I think the County Water Authority would like a word as far as our unreliable water supply, but beyond that, there's no standard that's being suggested or implied with respect to why this project is going to have a particular issue with the water supply in the neighborhood. And last, the idea of the fact that we live in a dry climate, that we have hilly topography in the area, those are not things that are subject to a written, objective, identifiable standard, or that the unique characteristics of this project would create a specific adverse impact. So on each of those, I think you'll find as you go through your analysis that they will fall short of what's required under the Housing Accountability Act and the Density Bonus Law. Just in terms of the recommendations of how you could address those, the first three, reducing the height, increasing the spacing, adding another point of entry, those are all things which would effectively constitute a redesign of the project. And because this is a density bonus project, as it's protected by the Housing Accountability Act, redesigning the project from the dais is just not something that's permissible, and that there are good reasons for that, right? There's, as Mr. Darnell mentioned, you guys have been working with the city and processing this project for almost 3 years. Undergrounding the utility pole, as we talked about, is a subject of an incentive, so that's specifically covered under the density bonus law. The suggestion to upgrade the fire infrastructure and put a fire hydrant in the neighborhood, I think that's a good idea. And that's why they're already doing it. There is a fire hydrant going in as part of this development. And last, the idea to use fire-resistant materials with sprinklers, same thing. That's being done. This project will be utilizing and meeting all of the applicable fire codes, which have been improved and made significantly more stringent over the last several years. So we appreciate your time tonight. We won't take up any more of it, but I'm available for questions, as is Mr. Darnell. He also has his project team here if you have some more specific questions relating to the engineering or the design or the construction. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So this is the time to hear from the public. Did we have any members sign up to speak?
Yes, we do. We have 8 registered speakers.
Okay, thank you. And after I go through those 8, we go through those 8 and hear from you. I will, in addition, because you did not have to sign up to speak, if you decide you want to address the council on this, I will ask at that time if there are any other additional members of the public that would like to speak to the council on this item. But we will start with those that are being named,
Our first speaker is Glenda Kimbrell, to be followed by Sean Settles, to be followed by Audrey Thornton.
Good evening, Glenda.
Good evening. I'm going to play a 20-second video for you. We don't need everything. Where did it start? Thank you. My name is Glenda Kimbrell, and we own property at 142 and 146 Loma Alta Drive. As you see, fire danger is very real on in our Loma Alta neighborhood. This tragic house fire happened just a few years ago on December 2020, just one lot away from the proposed development. Fortunately, our homes sit on large lots with well over 20 feet between houses. And even with that distance, there was fire damage to the neighboring property and vehicle. If we lived in one of these proposed houses, 3 stories high, 8 feet apart, we surely would have been in imminent danger. And this is what is being proposed, putting neighbors at risk should one house catch on fire. When you reviewed the Planning Commission's meeting, you heard their concerns at both the August 28th and the October 9th meetings. You see that it was very difficult for them to approve such a project. They unanimously rejected the project at the August meeting, asking the developer to rework some areas. At the October 9th meeting, with very little changes to the project, 2 of the commissioners voted no to the existing plan. And the Planning Commission had these comments to say, and I will quote, "This is a very poor design. This sucks. I have to choke it down. This project misses the mark for a quality design," end quote. Is this how we should approve developments in Oceanside with those comments? This development, because of the density bonus law, is afforded countless incentives, concessions, and waivers, squeezing more houses into this 2-acre lot than is reasonable. This project does have adverse effects and impact on our safety and physical environment. There is no denying this fact. Regard for the current and future residents must be taken into consideration. We realize that the Planning Commission or planning staff approved this development, and we heard from the attorney this evening, their attorney, that says there's no written standards. Well, we have to take much more than that into consideration. The City Council's mission is to represent the citizens of Oceanside, make policy decisions, exercise fiscal responsibility, and serve the best interests of all of our citizens, and ensure that Oceanside is a desirable place to live and work. You need to serve the best interests of the citizens of Oceanside and continue to make Oceanside a desirable place. This project does not do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Sean Settles, followed by Audrey Thornton.
Hello. Thank you, council members and mayor, for your time. I live right across the street from this project. My neighbor, Mrs. Hernandez, has been a valiant defender of our neighborhood for years. I'm sure you remember her. You know her, Esther.
Margaret, yes.
Mayor. She can't be here. Because she's, getting older, and we need to pick up the slack for her. The first thing I want to mention is the height requirement. The height the Planning Commission said was 30.5 feet. I believe that was what the record you said that was the project. And then the proposed, after the January 10th meeting, the proposed height was 39 feet. You posted both heights. I just want to clarify, which one is it? 39 feet? Because you stated 30.5 feet. That's on the record. Okay, so I just want to get it clear. What are we doing here? Because it was 30 feet, then it was 36 feet, now it's 39 feet. So we have to understand we have to be honest here. This neighborhood is kind of a ranch and sea neighborhood. We've lived here for 25 years, me and my wife, and to shoehorn something like that into this neighborhood, it's zoned for 5 houses. They want to put 14 houses, 39 feet. The ceiling is 25 feet to the top. So add another almost 10 feet to that. That's what they're shoehorning 13 houses into our neighborhood. That doesn't fit. That may fit down by the beach, or where they're already putting high rises in and tall, but not in our neighborhood. Our neighborhood has a certain personality. It's the oldest neighborhood in Oceanside, Loma Alta neighborhood. Let's just think about it instead of safety is great, but what about quality of life and preserving Oceanside as it is supposed to be? That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And any questions that are raised during the comments will be answered by staff after all the comments are done. Thank you. Next is Audrey Thornton, followed by Lisa Price.
Thank you, Mayor and Deputy Mayor and City Council. I live a block away on Mesa Drive, on the corner of Crouch and Mesa. And I came to the first Planning Commission meeting. I'm here to support the appellant. This is still a very poorly designed development, as Mr. Leduco stated, and it's going to have huge adverse impacts to our community. He's emphasizing the fire impact because that's something that you can base your denial on, which I agree. I also disagree with counsel for Mr. Darnell because redesign is permissible under the Density Bonus Act, and your hands are not tied by Government Code 65589.5. You are allowed to deny this and ask them to redesign it in a reasonable, rational manner. So developers just can't come with anything and say, well, under this new act, we can build whatever we want. It seems like the Planning Commission is giving them sort of an unlimited waiver, as we just heard about the height being raised from 30 to 39. I'm here just to plead with you once again. We knew this was going to be developed. We know that a couple extra houses may have to be added, but not, I think it's 13,
Eight.
used to be zoned for 9 or 8, so 5 extra houses. They're getting a huge bonus, and it's not safe. So please exercise your judgment. Please deny approval and demand that they redesign this to lessen the adverse impacts. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Price, followed by Kathy Dube.
Mayor, councilors, I wasn't going to talk tonight because I have been, along with several other neighbors, trying to figure out a way that we can put affordable housing into our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is made up of teachers and firefighters and plumbers and truck drivers and people who have to go to work every day. And I take offense to Mr. Darnell saying that he develops properties for that group of people. He set it up on his resume because those people cannot afford a $1.2 million house that will cost $12,000 a month. So don't hide under the affordable housing. Please don't do that. All of you sent a letter to Sacramento, and you said to them, there are unintended consequences. We all want affordable housing. We all want to do our part, but we don't want our neighborhoods taken advantage of by developers who come in here and do whatever they want. It has to stop. You are setting this city up for many things down the road, and I've heard it all. I met with all of you, and I appreciate you, talking with me and trying to help me understand why you have no option but to accept this project. Of course you have an option. This is our town. This is what we pay you for. Let the developers make some money, but do they have to make the money on the backs of all of us? The last thing is, I just want to ask, please listen to the people who are here voting for you, because we're not the first community or subdivision that has protested. And we really believe that changing paint colors is not enough. We have to pull together as a community and build affordable housing, and we need to get it right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Kathy Doobie. I live on Lomita Street, and this project is literally in my backyard. I will say, I've been here every time we've had a meeting, but I will say what this project has done is it's brought this community, this neighborhood together. I know neighbors now that I never knew before, and we're compassionate about this. We may have gone too far down the pike to change. I don't know. We may have done everything we can do as a community, as neighbors for this. I don't know, but we haven't given up. They look like apartment complexes in our backyard. Looking down, if it was that tall, 3 stories looking down into everybody's backyard. I've been there almost 30 years. I've got a 1/4 acre. I think we just want to keep our community, our neighborhood with some dignity. I don't know what else you guys can do, but if you can't do something for us, I hope you consider future projects in our neighborhood. This is where we live. This is our hood. I have pride in Oceanside, and it's dwindling. So please just listen to us and do what can be done. Legally, they may meet all their goals, but is it correct? I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you. James Burnett, followed by Kelly O'Neill, followed by Jordan Crone.
Good evening. A lot of the notes that I was going to speak about have already been said, so I'm just going to skip around a little bit. We've all heard the advice, most of us have. I guess I heard growing up that buy land. They're not making any more of it. And that's true, especially in coastal areas. Now, a lot of people consider all of Oceanside a coastal area, but most of us that have lived here for a long time know that there's only that small little strip of land very close to the ocean that is extremely, well, there just isn't any more of it. And so we have this problem with affordable housing. And regarding affordable housing, I'd like to just take a minute and restate a couple of things. It's not just an Oceanside problem. It's happening everywhere that people want to go on vacation. And if you look at Venice, Italy, they have a problem where they have more short-term rentals than they have residents in their city. It's happening all along the coast, everywhere where people want to go and recreate. This is a perfect place. The problem is that right now, as of today, just checking the city's database, there's 1,153 short-term rentals in Oceanside. That's not regular rentals. This is short-term vacation rentals. This is also not counting the number of the ones that the city doesn't know about, which are in my neighborhood. I can say there's a couple in that area around where people rent out occasionally just to, I don't want to go down that road, but we know the city already has enough codes and enforcement violations to look out for. By allowing people to live in their garage, by planning to allow for an additional dwelling unit, it's still on the city's code violation right now. Is allowing residents to reside in your garage is wrong. And yet we're planning for that now. We're allowing it in. We have asked the developer to make concessions for a route in, a route out, et cetera, many different things. And there were some back and forth on that I was just really frustrated at the neighborhood meeting. The authoritarian speak and their choice of colors, fine, but it doesn't fit in. That's pretty obvious. But I think that when you talk about fire, radiation, convection, and conduction are the 3 types of heat and types of fire, the way that heat is transferred. Building houses are 8 feet apart from each other. There's 1, a noise nuisance. 2, you're going to have a problem with, you can't even park your landscaping bins or trash bins, your recycle bins in between houses. You're going to have a problem and an increased risk. I'm going to skip around here quickly because I'm running short on time, but basically the rest of the neighborhood is going to have the property insurance possibly go up because of this development being so close together.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly O'Neill, followed by Jordan Crone.
Hello, Madam Mayor and Councilman. I'm Kelly O'Neill. Oceanside is my hometown, and Loma Alta is my neighborhood I grew up in. And 3 things. First, bonus density. There's that word again. And to me, that is just a euphemism for the state coming in and dictating how we should live and how we should build our neighborhoods, and they don't have that right, they don't have that right. And it's another euphemism for Mr. Borrego to just roll over and let it happen. I don't know enough to know about if the city manager is an elected position.
Can you speak to the council?
Yeah,
please?
I don't know if the city manager is an elected position, but I know our councilmen are supposed to be representing us, and bonus density is not in our best interest. So yeah, it's the state coming in and dictating how we should live, and that's not American. So the other thing is the fire. I didn't hear anyone, especially the gentleman who presented. I see his face on a lot of the projects that are bonus density projects, this young man right here. And not once did I hear him talk about we live in the California chaparral, and there is a fire hazard. And I didn't see, and on their projects, I didn't see one plant that comes from our neighborhood presented. And it was a slap on the face too to about the whole painting job. That was a slap in our face. And the third one is this the same project? Didn't Interfaith propose to put a rehab on the same land?
No.
No?
I'm not going to respond till afterwards, sorry.
Okay, anyways, the financial relationships from this group, this development group, I'm interested in, and how, I'm just interested in it. And because it's interesting, a lot of the research that I do about the bonus density projects and their financial relationships, like the one on Skylark, one of their financial relationships is to the Pritzker Group. You know, they're way in Chicago, and they do a lot of interesting things besides just developing people's neighborhoods, giving the money to develop people's neighborhoods. So I'm interested in the money that's behind this group, these developers, and how they're connected to Interfaith, maybe.
Thank you very much.
An NGO.
Jordan Crone.
Good evening. My name's Jordan Crone, and I live at 140 Loma Alta. And I just wanted to offer some perspective. First of all, thank you for all being here, and thank you for your time. I just want to offer some perspective as a new homeowner, and I haven't lived in the area for forever, although I did grow up in North County, San Diego. My neighbors that I met on that street, who have been there for decades, have been so gracious and so nice, and I feel privileged to be up here to kind of stand in solidarity with them. I was just able to get into the market just before COVID, and I couldn't afford the house now. I don't understand building 3,200 square foot homes in the name of for the workforce. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm a city worker, and it doesn't make sense. Maybe it makes sense on paper in Sacramento, but the real world just doesn't work. Even the low affordability home is barely affordable to the average person my age range and younger especially. So I just don't understand the rules and stipulations. They don't make sense to me other than on paper. When we talk about health and safety, I really question whether we care about health. I mean, living in a big box, especially after COVID and that whole debacle, I felt so grateful to have a piece of property with some land where I could grow some organic vegetables and get some sunlight. And I just question everybody who was in deep states of depression during that time, living in these boxes that they couldn't get out of. I mean, if anything we've learned over that time is give people some space. We live in San Diego, and this is for developers. It's just going forward from here. It's just, we need a little bit of space. And I know everything about the housing crisis. I was about to move away from my home and leave my job because I didn't think I could afford to live here anymore. But I got lucky, and I value that neighborhood so much. And that is the part of Oceanside I fell in love with completely. That is the Oceanside I fell in love with, coming from 2 towns away. It's incredible. I feel the peace every day I come home from work in the morning, and it's just, I love it. And for it to change on that grand of a scale is just so disappointing. And I just hope that there could be some balance. You know, these 3-story homes, they just, like I said, they work on the coast, but they don't work in these historic neighborhoods. And I wish that we could have some say as a city moving forward in what we're allowed to put in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, are there any other, anyone else wishing to speak on this item? If you'd like to speak, you didn't have to fill out a form. You can rise, approach the podium, state your name, and speak for 3 minutes. Anyone else wishing to speak? All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this part of the public hearing and go to the appellant.
Mayor, I don't think we had rebuttal from the, oh, you said from the appellant. I'm sorry.
No, rebuttal from the appellant. And then some questions were raised, so then I'll go to staff and then I'll go to the council. Mr. Luco?
Thank you again.
You have 10 minutes, 54 seconds.
Perfect, thank you. Well, I've heard some of the planning commissioners in the past hearings and some of the council members express their frustration over the density bonus law. Throw up their hands and say, well, that's the law, there's nothing we can do. Yes, the law requires that the local government, upon application by the developer, provide certain waivers, concessions, reductions, incentives, and bonuses to the developer in exchange for the developer to provide so-called affordable housing. However, a lot of people don't know that the density bonus law, which is Government Code 65915, also has exceptions. I'd like to put that on the screen. This is the Bankers Hill 150 versus City of San Diego case. That's the first page. I just wanted to show you. I wasn't making it up. This is page 7. Now, I've highlighted a paragraph there that's in a box. You can see that. Can everybody read that? Okay, let me read that with you. The density bonus law, this is from the, by the way, the 4th District Court of Appeal, San Diego, about 1.5 years ago. The density bonus law includes very limited exceptions to its requirements and places the burden on a city to establish an exception applies. A concession or incentive may be refused if the city can establish it would not result in identifiable and actual cost reductions to provide for affordable housing costs. Now, that requires some calculation, and I don't know if the city has ever done that. The paragraph continues. The only other exceptions to the requirement to grant incentives and concessions or waivers and reductions of standards require the city to find, based upon substantial evidence, that doing so would, 1, have a specific adverse impact upon public health and safety, 2, would have an adverse impact on any historic resource. Now, our property is not listed on the Register of Historic Resources, so that exception doesn't apply. And the third exception would be contrary to state or federal law. I don't know of any law that would apply there. So the exception we're talking about is, number 1, would have a specific adverse impact upon public health and safety. Now, in addition to those incentives and exceptions, you have, as elected officials of the City of Oceanside, the authority, the right, and in fact, the paramount duty to protect the residents of the city, regardless of the density bonus law. I think I know what you're afraid of, and that's the fear of having to pay the developer's attorney's fees and costs should the developer sue the city if the city denies the project. And that, of course, could be a substantial amount, probably a minimum of $250,000. However, lawsuits against the city go with the territory. Your decision should not be based upon fear or favor, but upon safety. I ask you, what could be more specific than a catastrophic fire, more adverse than a catastrophic fire, and more impactful to safety than a catastrophic fire? And we've already talked about the 6 or 7 examples I've given you. We, of course, never know if and when a perfect storm may arrive at our doorstep, but hoping that it will not happen is not a plan. The risk will always be there. Even a so-called small fire without a high wind event could cause havoc unless mitigated. This project is mitigated. We're not against development. Go ahead and develop the heck out of it. Just do it responsibly. Finally, let me finish with this suggestion. You continue this hearing for a sufficient time for all of you together to meet with the planning department, the developer, the city fire department officials, and your legal department to discuss the issues that are raised here tonight and attempt to modify/mitigate the current development plan for this proposed project. With that, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, I would like to go to staff, and there were a couple of questions that were asked. I think the height was one of them.
Honorable Mayor, council members, most of the testimony seemed to be comments, so I'll just respond to the actual questions. There was one about the height. So these are tract homes. The 11 units referred to as Plan A or Housing Product A are 30 and a half foot tall structures. However, they are proposed on top of retaining walls. So on the one end, they can vary from 30 and a half feet up to, I think the max was 39 and a half feet.
So the question was, where they thought it was a discrepancy between 30 and 37 or 39. It can actually go up to 39.
Yes, that is correct. That is in their list of waivers that they are asking to be awarded. Both of the measurements are essentially correct. It just, the 39 is...
Could you tell how many of them, of the 13, are over the 30?
I think most of them are on retaining walls. I would say the average retaining wall height is probably around 4 feet. I can look up the plans. I see a 4-foot wall, a 6-foot wall, another 4-foot wall, a 7-foot wall, a 5-foot wall, a 7-foot wall, a 4-foot wall, a 4-foot wall, and a 10-foot wall. And there's one that I cannot make out on my plans right now.
Right, thank you. Were there any other questions that you wanted to respond to?
There was one other main question, which was about the interfaith project. I'm assuming they're referring to the Greenbrier Village project off of Greenbrier and Oceanside
So the
Boulevard.
answer was no.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's it, right?
I also wanted to comment on the applicant when they showed revised elevations. The city council has to review the materials that were given to the planning commission. So they are offering some revised elevations with some wood trim, which was a comment from Commissioner Balma.
All right, thank you. To the council now, Deputy Mayor Keim.
A couple quick questions for the applicant. I'm going over some of these waivers. I guess some of these will be rhetorical. So we've got 11 waivers in the staff report. So standard 10,000 square foot lot is proposed as 2,700, so about a quarter of the size for the neighborhood. So we're changing the character of the neighborhood on that part. Is that accurate?
Yes, the smallest to the largest, so I think it's,
So minimum lot width from 70 feet down to 29 feet, so less than half. Minimum lot depth width, 2.5 to 1 to 3.6 to 1. Minimum setbacks, front, 25 feet to 18 feet, 7.5 feet to 4 feet, 15 feet to 4 feet, 20 feet to 7 feet for the rear. Minimum driveway length, 20 feet to 18. Maximum height, 36 feet to 39 feet. Maximum wall height, 6 feet to 10 feet. And then the landscaping, 11 waivers. For me, for someone who wants, we have specific zoning in our neighborhood and waivers, so development standards, so we can keep the neighborhoods like we want, Fire Mountain and Loma Alta. You to come in here and use these 11 waivers and then bring Mr. Hutter, who says he's not going to lecture us on density bonus, then exactly lectures us on density bonus. It's disappointing. Just because you can't do it, or just because you can't do it, doesn't mean it's the right thing to do in that neighborhood. And at the end of it, we get one affordable unit. So I'm disappointed in it. I want to hear what my council colleagues have to say, and if we do have a identifiable objective impact that we can identify to discuss with the appeal. Thank you.
There are no other lights. Is your thing not working? Oh, there it is, Councilmember Joyce.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm sorry, I should have told you not to sit down yet. I did have a question as well. This is a question. What is the plan for the affordable unit? Is it to be sold?
we plan on renting it. I think it's the way that almost all these projects have to go because of the difficulty of finding someone that can purchase a property that also meets the criteria. It's a kind of catch-22.
Okay. Could I hear from our housing staff on if that meets the requirements under density bonus?
Yeah, under 103, it says it shall be sold. And condition 103, shall be reserved for sale.
I'm sorry, that'll be all my questions for you, sir.
Leilani?
Hi. So for density bonus projects, typically, if it's a rental project, we require that it be a rental affordable product. For a for sale product, the same as well. If it's a for sale market rate development, we would expect, and our review included that we wanted to see a for sale affordable product. And that is the way we have been executing our agreements with developers.
Okay, thank you. Further, the staff report said that it's not in the high fire severity zone. Where is the high fire severity zone in our city?
Councilmember Joyce, Chief Parsons with the fire department is here tonight. And
I should have
believe
given him
he's
the
better equipped to answer that question.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. Councilmember Joyce, your question was the nearest fire hazards are very high?
Yes, the
Sir.
nearest high fire severity zone. That's what was said in the city's response.
Understood. So I'll have to just describe it. It's in the riverbed, pretty much directly north of the neighborhood, just to the west of the airport area in general. That's the only one in this region, and there's a very small other spot that's on the far northeast side of the city.
Okay, so that's a pretty good distance away.
It's a good distance, and you have to be within that zone to be effective.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And I'm sorry, we did have a lot of questions about fire safety, and I heard a general statement about the provisions that the applicant is providing under fire safety measures. Do you have any other further descriptions about the development and what has been done to make sure that it's fire safe?
Absolutely. We have been working continually with engineering staff, planning staff on the applicable design criteria. And so I had a lot of interaction with the Orange County Fire Department and their staff there. And so they signed off on the project and took a look at ladder heights and turnaround, and we had a ton of engineering exhibits and interactions with them that they felt that it was a project that met their standard.
Okay.
And sprinklers obviously being the number one thing that I don't think any of those houses in that neighborhood have sprinklers. Our project will.
Sprinklers specifically for fire safety?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And installing the new hydrant as well. And then.
Okay. So just, I guess, general comments. I agree that we get projects under density bonus a lot. This is an example of when that density bonus is really taken advantage to a much higher degree than some of the other ones that we see. So I share the frustration of the neighborhood and my fellow council members and the amount of waivers that have such a significant change from the local neighborhood character. That's all I have.
Councilmember Robinson?
There we go. Thank you, Mayor. And I'm sorry, I should have asked staff this ahead of time, but we got talking about traffic calming on Loma Alta, and I was just curious, and I don't think the WISs allow it, but was there given any thought to having maybe like a roundabout exit at the exit of the property onto Loma Alta? Is there enough width for something like that that would assist with traffic calming?
Councilmember Robinson, I believe we have the city's traffic engineer in attendance tonight who would be better equipped to handle that question.
She's going to love that question. Hi, Tila.
Ms. Cotter?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. Tila, City Traffic Engineer. To be honest, I really could not answer that question I don't know the dimensions of the intersection, if a roundabout or a traffic circle would be feasible there. I would like to go back. I don't have that information with me, whether we did any data collection on that street for volumes or speeds to see if even it would meet our traffic calming requirements at this time.
Yeah, excuse me, I apologize for dropping that on you here but when we started having that discussion about traffic calming and it not meeting some of the city requirements, I think that is always an option for me. I'm a big fan of those, so that's all. I just put it out there.
And one thing I do remember is that some information that Dane had mentioned about volumes. And I think you said in 2022 there was some counts done and it was under 500 vehicles. So at this time, it wouldn't even meet for traffic calming if the city were to do anything.
Doesn't mean we couldn't do it anyways, but that's.
To add to what Tila was saying, the project is also installing a stop sign off of the private cul-de-sac. So Loma Alta Drive won't have an always stop, but just the private street will.
Councilmember Weiss? Councilmember Joyce?
So given the idea that the affordable unit will be for rent rather than for sale, I think with that condition, I don't know how I can support it because it doesn't seem to meet the standard for our density bonus.
No, I thought I heard that, that the city is requiring that it be for sale based on the 103.
Yeah, condition 103, for the record, requires that. I know I heard what the applicant said, but condition 103 approved by the Planning Commission identifies it as a for sale unit.
So that seems like a significant discrepancy to be. So
Says,
I'd
for
like
the
to hear
record-
from the applicant to address that.
Yeah, applicant, can you please address that because there's a condition that it be for sale. We have very few opportunities for low-income home buying.
Yes, understood. And I believe we had some discussion about this at the Planning Commission, in which the planning director commented that for rent was quite common in these types of projects. But the answer that we are willing to provide is that if the project ends up being all for sale, we're happy to be for sale on the affordable unit. If the project can also be for rent, in terms of the code there, we would like to have the option to rent it as well.
So you're going to be renting some of these units?
We haven't made that decision yet. I mean, it's still a tentative map application, and so we can't. Tim, you want to help me up here?
Yeah,
I want to do
staff,
everything by the book in terms of the.
Can we not require that it be for sale?
Just to clarify, under state law, if the entire development is made available and the unit is provided as part of a rental development, the affordable units in the project can be for rent. If the entire project is generated as for sale, then the unit would have to be for sale. It would have to meet those conditions under Section 103. Earlier in the resolution, there is an indication that for both the for rent and for sale, you have both provisions in your resolution, and they indicate that the applicant will work with the Housing Authority to execute the affordable housing agreement, and the affordable housing agreement typically has both sets of language in it as well.
Doesn't matter, they're the right.
Do you have any other questions? You don't have any other questions for him? Okay. I have to say, reading this, and I appreciate Dane, I really appreciated the staff report. You explained a lot in here about state law and is very concise and educated everybody about state law. But I have to say that this is the worst treatment our city has ever received. Any of all the neighborhoods has gotten the worst treatment. I felt like you were gloating, You have to do this. You have to, here's our letter. And I know that the state law is what is upon us. And so for developers coming into town, into Oceanside, and maybe even for the first time, well, I've seen his face before, so it's not the first time, but I would hope that there would be some effort in having a good relationship, so that understanding that this is the state, at least for now, because I am hoping that we elect better state representatives, because this bunch is all about giving everything to the developer and nothing to the neighborhoods, nothing to the cities, that if all of these waivers cost something, all they're doing is transferring these requirements, underground, everything, to the city, and city someday is going to have to deal with all of these impacts, all of them. I just heard someone say they just got a notice that it's a required notice from the state that if something causes or may cause cancer, that there be a notice. And I just heard today that they received that about overhead power lines, right? So of course, at some point, the state is going to be saying, well, this is something that is important for the health and safety of the community. Apparently that's not now, right? So I could not believe, and thank you for putting them in a box, excuse me, all the waivers. Concession, I'm sorry, I misread that. I thought they were conceding, yes, this 1 point of undergrounding, to at least try to come, meet the city halfway, meet the community halfway. This is a very old community, and I would hope that you would have had some idea of the history of the city. The airport used to be at Loma Alta, right? You all know that. I mean, I have family, I have friends, I have family. I know the folks, great folks. Thank you so much for bringing up Margaret Hernandez, near and dear to my heart, because we've had battles on some of these projects, and we won. And that was when the city had discretion. And now we can't even get a commitment for the one affordable housing opportunity. I mean, it's 5, it's supposed to be just for 5, and we got 13, and only one of them is for affordable, to give the opportunity for home buying for someone that doesn't have, $1 million. It's almost adding insult to injury. I'm really disgusted. I'm sorry. Councilmember Weiss?
Yeah, I have a question for the city engineer.
Did anybody have their light on after? Did anybody else have their? You did? Okay. My apologies. When I took his off, yours accidentally came off.
Good evening, Mr. Thomas. So we have a published engineer's design manual, is that correct?
Honorable Mayor, City Council, Councilmember Weiss, we do have a published design manual.
What is the maximum grade in that manual for a private street?
12% for a local street and a cul-de-sac.
Right. Thank you. So my issue is the private street for this development is actually at 16%, which greatly exceeds the city's written objective standard. With a street that steep, in my opinion, there would be a specific adverse impact on public safety. So my motion would be to grant the appeal.
Second. Okay, there is a motion and a second. Councilmember Robinson? All right. Well, there is a motion and a second to deny this project, basically grant the appellant's motion to deny this project. Are we ready for a vote? The answer is yes. Let's vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. So we are now at the end of the meeting. Do we have any mayor and, general council member comments? I know I didn't have some at the end of last year. I apologize. Excuse me. I think it was a very long meeting last meeting. Do you have any comments? No comments. All right. Well, Happy New Year, all. I think you're all happy.
Thank you.
I think that is definitely a health and safety issue.
Mayor.
And I want to go ahead and adjourn to the next council meeting, which is Wednesday, January 24th at 3:30 p.m. Meeting adjourned.
Recording stopped.